This is a response to Kurt and the video that he made regarding energies, the stuff that we put out, and how it comes back on us in many regards. Not that it's one-to-one, not that necessarily, we are the total causal creators of the kinds of situations that we find ourselves in. I don't think he's saying that. If you are, correct me, in the sense that I think that, the situation that we find ourselves in that the other people around us are also playing a causal effect. I don't think you would put it exactly like The Secret, for example, says. I think it's more complicated. The way I'm taking it is that, you're suggesting that this is more of an existential situation and that, we have to hold the choices that we make because it's going to have a causal consequence on the future, and that could put us into situations that actually flip on themselves, much in the way that if you fight somebody, you're going to become a fighter. And I think all of us have some degree of fight in us that's necessary. That is to say that, to survive, just to be, there's a degree of fight moment to moment. However, what I'm suggesting and what I believe has been occurring to some degree is that there's been too much fight for dominance. Or, and I'll reframe that the system or paradigm of that dominance is coming to an end. Much in the way that the third chakra, when it's been highly activated, must give way to the fourth in some fairly real sense. And that the third has been upwardly affecting the fourth and downwardly affecting the others. So that in those times of change, arguably, there's a kind of quote-unquote fight that's taking place. But you might almost call this one, in a sense, an anti-fight, perhaps, in that my experience of this is actually the diminishment of, or the transmutation of that fight in and through the heart, so that, the strikes are coming at you and it's going in and then out. And the more consistently you can do it, the more moment to moment that it is happening, the less real fight there actually is in it. Last night I had a dream, and it was very telling, and I went to bed sort of frustrated about the whole idea of death. And this is something to do with a pathology that I have, and I know that, and I have to be very cognizant of it, and it has something to do with self-defensiveness and being overly self-defensive. Anyways, I went to bed having this very strange, and I'll call it a dream, where I was in a theater, very small theater, with just a small number of people. It was an interactive movie in which, I was both a viewer and a participant in the film. And in this film, there was, it was a full movie, and then there was a short. And I remember just brief parts of the full movie, actually, because the short came after. And the full movie had something to do with time and how it was twisting and the future and how we are participating in that right now. And very, very fascinating movie. Some of my favorite stuff, but I can't remember really any of it. The next one was very dark. The short was the emotions that swirled, the intent that was around it was to uncover. There was indeed a very large amount of I need to understand. You can imagine this kind of really dark space, and where you are both the viewer and the participant, and the viewer can feel, and the participant can feel, that there is something attached to their back, and that it has a great deal of control over their being. The thing is that their intentions are being diminished in and through that. Their abilities, and that's always the case, I think, but you feel at this time that there's a need to expose it so that you understand it. And so, there's a personification of what this actually is. This being is trying to destroy us, like, many different maneuvers to try to kill this being. And the whole movie theater was just this one being kind of struggling over survival. And there's this, like, it feels like a snake kind of contorting and controlling the being, the body. And then finally it's like, okay, I need to see this. And there's the movie, and you look face to face with this being that was doing it, and it was just a being. There's a small degree of anger felt, but it wasn't much anger. Really, it was a matter of, okay, this is what it is. This is that being. They don't have control over me anymore because I can see them. And that's simply it. That was all that it was. But it was a very fascinating, interactive experience, important to note. And it had this very future feeling to it. That, in fact, after the movie finished, I walked out of the theater, and before the movie started, I saw two of my friends standing in line, and they didn't get in, and they were kind of like, "Aw, didn't get to see the movie." But then after I met them up in, like, the another wing of the building, they were sitting down, and they're like, "Oh wow, you got to see the film, that's amazing." And I was like, yeah, it was pretty amazing. I actually started to talk about it a little bit, I think. And they're like, yeah, I can't wait till November. Blessings.